Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Texas Road. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, get your questions in. I was about to say early because we had the time wrong this morning. We're starting normal time, obviously, but tomorrow morning we will start early, right, Bobby?
Yep, off at the gun at 7 a.m. We may try to be a little bit earlier if news starts leaking out a little earlier, but that's when signing day can actually appropriately start. We're going to have wall-to-wall coverage all day long for you here on the YouTube channel, as well as our podcast and our website on texasfootball.com. We've got little vignettes on every single recruit. We're going to talk with former Texas players at the certain positions, and they're going to evaluate some of these players coming in at the University of Texas. We've got wall-to-wall coverage, like I said, for you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoy it, and hopefully there's some surprising good news down the stretch for the Longhorns as well.
Yeah, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit. But tonight, college football playoff rankings come out. So our question to the chat for today is: where do you think Texas will be ranked? That's the $1 million question, obviously, the one everyone's waiting on. But let's start with y'all. Where do y'all think they'll be ranked?
I think Texas is going to be ranked 13. And I wrote that on texasfootball.com this morning. I think it'll be Miami 12 and Texas 13 is where I think it's going to head. Somebody said 12. We get some guesses in here. I love it. That's kind of where I'm headed with it, because I think BYU is going to be ranked ahead of both until they lose Saturday. Then they bump down. So, that's where I think it's going to happen. I think there's some real interesting questions that the committee's going to have to answer tonight, by the way, along with, okay, we're talking about Texas ranking. What are they really going to do with Ole Miss? Ole Miss is a shell of what they were. So what are they really good? It's not like Lane Kiffin and the whole offensive staff are gone. So what should you do with Ole Miss? That's the other question I have for the chat. They're going to be in, and they're probably going to host the game. I'd love to be the team that plays them, by the way. But they're a shell of what they were. They're not the same team at all. So that's going to be very interesting to me to see what the committee does with them. So if you happen to be Alabama and finish ranked number 10 and you travel to Ole Miss in round 1, boy, how lucky are you, because you're going to beat their butt.
Yeah. I think with Ole Miss, the reality of it is that they're, to Jerry's point, they're in. So I don't know how interesting that is to me. I mean, whether they play at home or away or 5, 6, 7, they're 11-1. If they were 10-2 and this turmoil would have happened with the coaching staff, then maybe that puts them on the precipice of moving down. But at 11-1, they're going to be firmly in. It's just, are they 6, 7, or 8? I don't know.
Should they be in, though?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
See, I'm on the fence on that.
11-1. This isn't Florida State, 12-0 Florida State, where they lost the quarterback. Trinidad Chambliss is still playing. They've still got Kewan Lacey. They've still got a number of different teams, and people are trying to compare it to the Florida State thing. Well, Florida State had a perfect record and got left out because they played 2 games without their starting quarterback, Jordan Travis, after he had that really bad injury, and they looked like donkey. That's why Florida State got left out. And then they went to a bowl game and were proven to be donkey, I think Georgia ruined that program. I mean, literally may have just sent Mike Norvell to an early grave. So I think that my piece on this is, where will Texas be among this group? That's the thing I care most about. And most people, granted, I am not a CFP expert, but most people right now, unfortunately, have Texas at 12 or 13. And I don't agree with it. I've said I don't agree with it. The problem that college football has compared, and I made this comparison, Jerry, yesterday to the NCAA basketball tournament. The problem Texas has, Texas is the only school playing right now that actually has 5 data points among the top 15 teams. The most anybody else has is 3 or 4 at most. So Texas has 5 true data points because they went and played Ohio State. And then they've got Georgia, Auburn, OU, Vanderbilt, and A&M. Nobody else has that many data points. Everybody else has got, oh, well, we got this one win and we got this one loss. Well, Texas played 5 of those suckers.
Yeah.
And so if a 3-2 record over that group is not good enough to get you in, then I think there's something wrong with the system. If a 3-2 record over the top 15 teams in the country is not good enough, then the system sucks. That's my take on it. But you know, like you had something that the governor of the state of Texas put up yesterday that I think was worth looking at too, and that's the actual rules of engagement as it relates to the college football playoff, Jerry. And it's pretty clear that Texas holds some cards against these teams, but I don't think they're getting until we see tonight, I guess. I don't think they're getting the benefit of these rules. Here's the post. The committee will select the teams using a process that distinguishes among otherwise comparable teams by considering strength of schedule. Well, Texas has played 5 of the top 15 teams. Nobody else has. Head-to-head competition. Texas has beat 3 of the top 12 teams. Comparative outcomes of common opponents without incentivizing margin of victory. Okay. Other relevant factors such as unavailability of key players and coaches that may have affected a team's performance during the season or likely will affect its postseason performance. And another one that needs to be added, how the overall game felt. You know? So, look, Texas played the number 1 ranked team in the country. If Ohio State goes out and beats Indiana by 4 scores on Saturday, and Texas is the only team all year long that stayed within 1 score of Ohio State, then this is ridiculous. And Texas did it on the road, by the way. I mean, it's...
Yeah, so I'll say this. And it might not be popular in the chat, and oh well. I think Miami's the team that's going to end up getting screwed the most out of this. Because Miami literally beat Notre Dame in a game. And they have the exact same record. And they're going to get left out. So I hear the Texas argument, but Miami is the team that's actually going to get screwed the most on this deal, in my opinion, if they don't get in. Because they actually played Notre Dame head-to-head, won the game, have the same record, and right now are going to be on the outside looking in while Notre Dame's in. Make that make sense. That's the one that just doesn't make sense. Now, when we go to 16 teams, none of this crap matters, but it matters right now.
Notre Dame, and Miami have the exact same record, right?
Yeah.
Against top 15 teams. Their best, the best win for Notre Dame is a number 17 ranked USC? Is that right? 16, whatever they're going to be. Whatever. Miami does not have a great resume overall, and they did not look good down the stretch. Texas finished 6-1 down the stretch. And of that 6-1, Texas beat 3 top 15, top 10 teams at the time. Nobody else did that. I mean, you really want to look at it, Texas finished 3-1 in the last 7 games against top 15 opponents. So I know people are saying, well, ours didn't look good here. Ours didn't look good there. Okay, I agree with you. Okay, the offensive line looked like you know what. Texas is 3-2 against top 15 teams. Show me a better resume than that, other than Ohio State, other than Georgia. You can't find one.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I'm saying where this ranking's going, if Notre Dame gets in over Miami, Miami's the team that gets screwed the most because Look, actually beat Notre Dame head-to-head in a game, and they have the exact same record. And if they get left out, that's the biggest hose job in this ranking. And the other part, the end of this one, I do not think Ole Miss should be in the playoff. I'll come out and say it. I do not think they should be in. And it's the calendar's fault. It's not Lane Kiffin's fault. It's not Ole Miss's fault. It's not the players' fault. But if anybody thinks 11-1 Ole Miss is the same team today as they were before the entire offensive staff and the head coach left, they're nuts. They're nuts. They didn't just lose one player or a quarterback. They lost a whole deal on one side of the ball and the head coach. And I know that's not fair, but, Ole Miss they're not even close to the same team. They're like, nobody can argue. I understand Tex Bryant says you can't punish the players. It's not about punishing the players. It's about the criteria. It's about the criteria. I mean, they lost their head coach and their whole offensive staff. You think if they started their season right now, what would their record be? They shouldn't. I mean, the whole thing is messed up, but I'd love to play Ole Miss. If I'm Alabama and I end up being the 10 seed and I'm playing Ole Miss, I welcome that game.
I'm hoping Alabama gets beat by Georgia pretty soundly. Maybe that gives Texas a chance too.
That would be interesting too. Because look, Alabama already won at Georgia, so I get the argument from the Alabama side. But are getting to the SEC championship game, then if they lose by a couple of scores, will they get knocked out at that point? If you do, there might only be 3 SEC teams in. Well, 4.
I don't know.
It's interesting. Yes, somebody said we need a 16-team play. That's going to happen. All this year is going to force – things like this have to happen to force the next change that should have already happened. It's going to go to 16. They've kicked the can down the road probably a year. It's going to go to 16. They're going to have to work it out. They're going to have to work it out. Because Texas, Bobby's case, what he's been stating for Texas, 100% right. Miami totally gets hosed if Notre Dame gets in and they don't when they beat them and they have the same record. So there's enough things happening here. Notre Dame's not in the conference. They're going to get they're going to start taking even more heat if they get in and Miami doesn't, and they're not in the conference, and Miami beat them head-to-head in non-con and they have the same record. So there's enough stuff building that I think it's going to force 16 quickly. And because the reality is, look, Vanderbilt, you could argue, is a deserving team on some level of getting in, right?
But you couldn't argue ahead of Texas, in my opinion.
No. I mean, they have one more win, but I get it. I get it. But there's 3 teams that have a real argument to me that they could be in. Then if you're at a 16-team playoff, you could see Ole Miss 14 and not punish the kids. Say, hey, you still get your playoff game here. You're just going to go on the road and play somebody. But you're not the same team, clearly you were a week ago. So that's why there's enough going on right now that this is going to push it to 16, I think, where it needs to be.
Yeah, there's money to be had in arguing over right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem I have right now is that even the 16-team things that they're talking about right now aren't good. I mean, in my opinion. So we'll go there. Hey, before we get to our friend Bob Shipley, he's going to join us. We're going to talk a little Texas football, and he looks like I'm looking at him backstage right now. He looks like he has some special gear on for us to see. But before we get there, I want to say thanks to our friends over at Texas Road, our friend Rick Vavro, Longhorn grad, and the guys at Texas Road, your full-service solution for major road projects. With the full support of multiple crews performing utility, dirt work, concrete, and asphalt, Texas Road provides on-site concrete through volumetric trucks for smaller volumes, makes it a better job overall. They are able to complete road building in a high-profile environment. Again, that is Rick Vavro and his team at Texas Road. Give them a shout. Again, texas-road.com. Thanks to Rick and his team for sponsoring us every Tuesday morning on Coffee and Football.
Okay, let's bring him in this morning.
Hey,
How's it going, Bob?
it doesn't look quite as nice as Michael Taft's. It's actually been used somehow on the farm. I promise you.
I was gonna say yours looks like it's a real ranch hat, Coach. I got to be honest.
Well, let me tell you, this one of my best buddies back home in Burnett. He's got a hat looks very similar to this, and he's a cool daddy, man. He really is. And so whenever we're in town, we go have coffee together at another buddy's place downtown Burnett. And so it's a place that's got a lot of nostalgia. It's not open for business. It's just his place where this man goes. He's lost his wife, and friends just come in, and in the morning they just drink coffee and solve problems. And I saw this hat sitting on the rack, and I said, "Hey, bud," he said, "what do you sell that hat for?" And he told me the story. The place, what is it? Austin Hattery. There's a famous guy there. I don't even know if he's still alive, but anyway, he did all the Lonesome Dove. He did all their hats and all that stuff. And so he said, this old hat was my dad's, and I don't even know how old it is, but he said my dad passed him. I had it with me one day, and I saw him, and I said, "Hey, can you put a Gus on this?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "About 5 minutes steamed, and here it is." And he says, "It's been sitting on that rack ever since, probably 20 years. And he said, "The answer is no, it's not for sale." So I said, "Well, I don't understand." I understand that, because that's quality hat. And he said, "But I'll give it to you. Just get Jordan I just want you and Jordan to sign the Shipley Ranch's hat so I can replace it with that. And anybody asks where it went, I'll remember the story."
That's great stuff, Coach. Love it.
Yeah,
man.
so it's a nice, cool 24 degrees this morning in Abilene, and I'm fixing to head out to my wife's family farm and mess around a little bit. And so I got my Carhartt heavy jacket on. I'm gonna be ready.
Hey, Coach, I got to say this: if you were still coaching and at the University of Texas, you wouldn't be going out for family visits right now. You'd be 24 hours away from signing day, trying to get all the paperwork ready, and you get inside the building. Yeah, so you get inside the building during a recruiting cycle at the University of Texas.
Yeah.
And you've been a recruiting coordinator, I think, at Abilene Christian too, at one point. What's it like for coaches and those guys, the personnel folks inside the building right now, 24 hours out?
Yeah, it's chaotic. Back in the day, we'd have to FedEx, and then put a self-paid FedEx back in, but now they can do all the legal documents online, so you don't have to do that. And then we'd make them take a picture of the scholarship and send it to us, and then we could announce it. But anyway, yeah, it is chaotic. Thankfully, I can't remember taking a guy down to the wire specifically that we thought we were going to sign, we're confident we were going to sign, and didn't. I don't remember one of those. Y'all might can remember one, but I don't. Yeah. I don't really remember that. But yeah, just a lot of communication. They've got a game plan, just like for a game that you're going to be in touch with your guys. You're going to be, you got to have everything, all your ducks in a row. We don't want any surprises. That's the biggest thing a head coach will say. No surprises. Get your guys. Stay with them.
Yep.
And Coach, I obviously you guys did lunch with the coach yesterday, but thoughts again for the chat. Your biggest takeaways, your thoughts from the win over A&M 3 days removed.
Yeah, we we discussed that last night, and some of the guys give me a hard time because all week I was fired up. I was like I was like doing this. I just felt what was going to happen. I just felt what happened was going to happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a feeling inside, but it's about, 60 years of following the Longhorns, not to the extent that Bobby has and you guys have, obviously, but it just seems like situations like these, Texas just they just put it over on them somehow. I don't know how. And then we start explaining, well, let's look at the running back comparison. Well, yeah, that A&M. Look at the receiver. Oh, yeah, for sure, A&M. Look at the offensive line, A&M. Look at the quarterback. And we all know how we feel about that. But if you looked at just the stats, you'd go, oh, looks pretty even to me, And in fact, 7-8 yards difference in passing or something like that over 11 games. But anyway, that and their schedule and the fact that they had only one team they beat had a winning record over Power 4 teams. And then, of course, South Carolina debacle. And so you just start looking at that. And I just felt like the crowd we were going to have, this is the one game we have to redeem ourselves, the one chance we can do this is the last game we have to control our own opportunity. We may not even be able to control it then. Okay. But a 2-score win, a little shaky in the first half, but overall, I thought the defense shook things up a little bit, did some things differently. I'm not telling you anything you hadn't heard, but I just really think that for some reason we've got 3 guys that love these rival games. First is Steve Sarkisian, and the second one is obviously Archie Manning, and the third one is Trey Wisner, because those dudes come to play when it's a rivalry game. Now, I wish somehow we could write a fictional book and make a fictional movie about whatever our next game is and tell them how this rivalry's gone back for eons and all this stuff and see if we can get that mojo going again. But overall, just a great effort, great. And I wasn't at the game, but everybody I've talked to that's there said that if there's a game that can make a difference, a crowd that can make a difference in a game, that was it.
Yeah. Somebody said add Ethan Burke to that list.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt. Wow.
Marcus mentioned him. Coach, I've been thinking about it since you, me, and Coach Irwin had the lunch with the coach and taped that. The question I had for you is, do you think it was Texas growing up? Do you think it was A&M being a little bit of a facade? Or do you think it was a combination of those factors? Because I will tell you, I felt like Texas grew up in that game offensively and defensively as much as A&M just probably not as good as they maybe thought they were. What do you think?
I kind of liken it to those of us that have raised teenage boys. It's like, okay, he's finally got it. He's not an idiot anymore. He's finally figured this thing out. And then so go, yeah, he's making progress. He's an adult now. And then wham, here comes Florida game. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about things now. He's growing up, I think, we're at a new place. And then bam, get beat by 25 points to Georgia. I mean, it's just, it's just that's the best way I could relate it to, because I wish I could say, yes, we are peaking, right? We are growing. We are continuing on an upward level, and we are. But how many times has our bubble been busted this season when we start thinking that way?
Yeah. It's not linear. It's not linear. It's not a straight path from A to Z. It's yeah. And so I do think A&M was obviously not able to stop some things that we did, and we're not able to get things going offensively the way. I don't think that that's because they're not a good football team. I think they played a great football team who, with every ounce of their body, wanted to do whatever they could do to make a difference in this game. And so I think A&M is still a good football team. A&M could win some games, but I don't want to say that they were overrated. I don't know if they were overrated or not. We're certainly underrated, but we've done some of that to ourselves.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you this. You've been in the stands for multiple games at A&M and at Texas. Do you have one memory that stands out about those games from when you were in the stands?
Sorry, I'm fighting what you were fighting, Jerry.
Oh, dude, I'm never going to be well.
Yeah. So I have two. Both of them are not what you think they'd be. One of them is when one of my sons was on the field for, punt returns, kickoff returns, running up and down the field, and there's not a porta potty on the sidelines. Many of you may have wondered in your mind, what do those guys do? Well, I'll tell you what they do. They get a Gatorade bottle, and they get a bunch of buddies around them, and they take care of the business and get back on the field. That's probably one that I'll never forget,
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And the other one, we were actually there on a recruiting visit, and Cliff Kingsbury. They were playing Tech. A&M was playing Tech, and Kingsbury beat them. It's crazy. None of my boys on the field are my top memories. Kingsbury beats him and runs down the field as fast as he can, slides on his knees and leans back and double birds the whole crowd.
Wow.
I mean, it was like right in front of where we were. And so those are my two biggest things that stick out.
Wow.
But yeah, Jordan had some great games there. Jackson's double pass, on the last game, and then I think he had a touchdown reception as well.
Yeah.
There was a really, really fun memory because, we didn't know. They said last game ever. Well, nobody really believed that, but who knew?
Yeah.
But it's a pretty emotional game.
That's
See, it's
good.
the same thing. It's the same thing. If it was flipped, see what I'm saying? The last game we're playing at Kyle Field, what could happen? Yeah, they're going to mess around and let Texas beat them. The last game at Kyle Field, it just always works out. Seems like to me. I don't know how, but we always seem in the end to get them.
Coach, I'll just remind everybody, and not unlike the Texas PA system did, there is only one flagship institution in the state of Texas.
And I think 107,000 saw that.
I do too. Hey, looking at recruiting for tomorrow in the college football playoff. Your thoughts on either of those or both of those subjects? And as it comes to recruiting, I want to ask you this. We all know that recruiting is not even a recruiting ranking of a 5-star or a 3-star. It may be a small predictor of success, but it's not the prevailing predictor of success. It's how much that young man wants to be a good player, frankly, and what he's willing to sacrifice to do it. It's just hard for recruiting analysts to judge that factor.
Yeah.
Right? From when they're not in that house and in that practice or that field house every week. So what is your overall take on recruiting and how important it is and that sort of thing to a university?
Yeah. Well, with Mac wanted to make sure, Mac's recruiting philosophy and style was all about relationships. So along those same lines, he wanted to make sure that everyone had a good enough relationship with the coach and with the parents and the custodian in the field house. And you ask them all hard questions. A custodian is probably a lot of times he's just going to tell you the truth. These are just kids that clean up that he has to clean up after every day, but talk to other coaches that played that team. How did they think about the kid? How does he respond in these situations or whatever? And then get your kids around him, get your players around them and see what kind of guys they are. But I think it's, I don't think we've missed so much on our rating of the players. I think, I think where we made some mistakes was obviously, hindsight is not going and getting more guys out of the portal, especially offensive line. They knew what they had. And maybe there was just nothing out there. I can't imagine that, but, so it's a relationship thing. And I know that Sark is big on making sure guys fit. And to do that, you got to ask some tough questions. I like to ask offensive linemen, have you ever been in a fist fight? If you say, gee, golly whoppers, no. You know, probably not the guy that's going to be hanging out at Casey Studdard's, you know, trying to learn something from him, even though he should be. You know, I talk about Casey all the time. Give me a Casey Studdard. Give me a guy that, you know, you know, it's just right here. You know, it's that drive inside of you. You can find a lot of guys that fit the measurables, but finding a guy that has that drive inside of him that will play for the team is what we always were told to do. And I think so. I feel like, you know, we had a little drop off this last season, even though it was a top 5. I don't know that it. What I would love to see is guys that are difference makers right out of the box. I mean, just we need some of those guys because we don't have time. But the ones we can't get out of the portal, we got to get guys that can help us, because this whole team deal is continuing to morph into something. And I think it's funny that you know, when Lane left Ole Miss, you know, he's like, these guys, no, I mean, you know, they come and go. It's not like it used to be anymore. They're not really bonded with their coach, you know, because some of them, they know there's going to be a year or two and coaches come and go and all that. So he even admitted that the whole team thing, and it could have just been an excuse to make himself feel better. But it is an ever-changing environment in that locker room that you have to keep close tabs on.
For sure.
Good stuff. Coach, we appreciate you so much. Hopefully you'll join us tomorrow. I want you to help us break down the wide receivers. You had 2 pretty good ones. Tomorrow we're going to have a bunch of former players on, asking them about the players at their positions and what they think of the incoming recruits at the University of Texas. Hopefully you'll help us with that a little bit tomorrow. But for now, go enjoy that 20-degree weather in Abilene, buddy.
Yeah, baby.
Get warmed up. Maybe wear some duck camp while you're at it.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, see you guys.
Hook 'em, Coach. Take care of yourself.
Good.
You too. Man, what a stud hat. I don't think I could pull that. I don't think I could pull that hat off. I'd feel too fake in that hat.
You should get an All Texas football one.
Yeah.
Get that hat with the logo on it. It'd be a big sell. It would sell.
It probably would sell, but I still couldn't
Brandon
pull it
Huey
off.
would buy one. Brandon Huey would definitely buy one. I'm sure there's some others that would.
Yeah, I don't know that I could pull that off, man, Jerry. That'd be tough.
Well, what you can pull off is a pair of Tacovas, Bobby.
God, I'm glad you didn't say
You
my
know, I
shirt.
can. I wear these a lot, actually. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but I was in Austin a couple weeks back, and they had a little shindig that I wanted to go to, and I went and I was wearing my Tacovas, felt pretty proud of myself. Tacovas, born in Texas in 2015, are handcrafted. They make it easy for anyone to find their favorite boot with all kinds of sizes and styles. Tacovas are simply the best boot around. I really like that they can either be daily boots or you can feel dressed up with them. Right now, get 10% off at tacovas.com/Texas football when you sign up for email and text. That's 10% off at tecovas.com/Texas football. With Texas Tacovas Best in the West guarantee, you get free returns and exchanges for 30 days. Anywhere worth going is worth going in good boots. So find your perfect pair again with Tacovas. Tacovas boots are handcrafted with over 200 meticulous steps for broken in comfort right out of the box. They also have an in-store experience if you want to try that. They're in Austin or around other spots in Texas. It's unparalleled with expert staff. They even offer you things like complimentary beverages and customizations. So right now, get 10% off at tacovas.com/Texas football when you sign up for emails and texts. That's 10% off at tecovas.com/Texas football. Tacovas.com/Texas football. See site for today for details and point your toes west.
And how about Hollow?
Oh, I actually wore these socks. Look, there are socks out there that can be wool, and Coach was mentioning going out as he was in Abilene in 20-something degrees. You got to put all those heavy wool socks. Try a different type. Try alpaca socks built for the field from Hollow. Lightweight, supportive, and unbelievably soft. They don't make your feet sweat. They're 3 times warmer than wool, yet still lightweight. They're performance-grade socks made from ultra-soft baby alpaca fibers, engineered for rugged conditions and designed to keep your feet dry, warm, and comfortable no matter where the day takes you. They are absolutely perfect for whether you need compression socks or everyday socks, trade socks, hunt socks, those kind of things. For a limited time, Hollow Socks is having a buy 3, get 3 free sale, so you can try them out. Head to hollowsocks.com today to check it out. That's hollowsocks.com for up to 50% off your order. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them On Texas Football sent you. Again, that is hollowsocks.com. Buy 3, get 3 free sale today.
And I'm going to tell everyone this morning about our friends at Prize Picks, because we make decisions daily. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid, and it's simple to play. You're just going to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get those picks right, you cash in, you win up to 2,000 times your money. It's the best way to get in on the sports action in more than 40 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and right here in the Lone Star State. And this week, I have Georgia quarterback Gunnar Stockton with at least a passing touchdown. BYU quarterback Bear Bachmeier to have more than 179.5 passing yards. And Ohio State running back Bo Jackson to have more than 70.5 rushing yards. Of course, they have more than college football. They got college basketball, NBA, NFL, tennis, if that's your thing. They got everything. So go make your own picks in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code ONTexas to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code ONTexas to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And that's Prize Picks. It's good to be right. We got to talk some recruiting. We got some super chats that we need to get to. But let's start with recruiting, Jerry.
Yeah, so I think there's really 3 targets right now. Malachi Lee, Michigan commit out of Honolulu, who picked Michigan over Texas, a couple others. He's been on campus for an OV. Somebody asked about that on TexasFootball.com. He was in Austin in June. Bryson Martinez, offensive tackle out of Gonzales, East Ascension, LSU commit. Then Teray Davis, defensive back out of Boulder Fairview, UCLA commit. Maybe he sticks with UCLA now. Chesney's over there. I'm not saying he is. But while UCLA didn't have a coach, it was Washington or Texas. On Malachi Lee, look, Texas, the conversations are ongoing. Where it's going to lead, we'll find out tomorrow. Malachi Lee put out his signing day on Instagram, his time, which is going to be way out there, Honolulu. Texas had conversation with him every day. What does that mean? We'll find out tomorrow. I don't think if people are asking for a definitive answer, I don't have the definitive answer. And I don't know if the kid has the definitive answer at this point. Bryson Martinez, he's interesting. I think the ball's in LSU's court. He committed early in February of 2025. He didn't even go through the OV process for a reason. He's 18 miles away from campus or 19 miles away. He committed to LSU early. I think that the ball's really in Lane Kiffin's court there. I think LSU will get him if they feel like they absolutely have to have him, is what I think. If there's anything around that with from an NIL perspective, or if Lane says, hey, I don't know what I'm going to do with my OL coach, then I think that becomes more of a decision for Martinez. Teray Davis, like I said, is Washington, Texas. We'll see which way it goes. Texas would love to get one of these offensive linemen. That's what I can tell you. They would love to get one of them. I don't think they get both. I think they'd love to get one of those guys at the end of the day. We'll see which way it goes. There's been more chatter behind the scenes that Malachi Lee may have softened his stance on Michigan, but he's never really backed off the commitment. And so we'll see what he does tomorrow.
Teray Davis, by the way, I wrote this, Jerry, on Texas Football this morning. Teray Davis had a phenomenal senior year. Absolutely phenomenal. The young man he's being recruited as a defensive back, I think, by everybody. He had 6 interceptions on the season. That alone is a whale of a year, right, for a DB. But what he did on offense is equally phenomenal. He had 70 catches for 1,500 yards, okay, and 16 touchdowns. That you'd say that's a good day at the office, right? Just if you took his receiver numbers and his DB numbers. Well, let me add this to you. He also had 535 yards rushing with an additional 23 touchdowns. The kid had 39 touchdowns as a high school senior. So tremendous senior year for him. Congratulations. He's narrowing in on a decision, and I'm hearing it will be either Texas or Washington at this point. But to Jerry's point, I mean, look, UCLA just hired their coach yesterday, or announced their coach yesterday. So no telling what that does for the Bruins and whether or not the person that was recruiting him for UCLA is now back at UCLA. It's at this time of year, things change so quickly. I just can't believe you would sign with a team. It's one thing if you're in Gonzales, Louisiana, to Jerry's point.
Yeah.
And you sign with a team that's 30 miles down the road. It's another if you're in Boulder, Colorado, and you choose to go to a team that you actually don't know anything about, and there's no fallback plan there. So I think it's still going to be Texas, Washington, but we've seen different.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump over to some super chats and some other questions this morning here, because we got quite a few of them. And this one from Justin Lebec. He says a separate playoff 10 or 12 team SEC/Big Ten playoff and have 4 or 6 man for ACC G5 Big 12 teams. Maybe the winner of the SEC Big 10 plays the winner of the ACC G5 Big 12.
Yeah, look, I think 16 is a really good number in college football. The question is with the 16, should there be a G5? That's the question I have with that is, should there be a G5 in it? But if you just said we have 16 teams and no G5, then your season has to be part of the playoff too. I think 16 is a really good number because, I mean, at that point, if you take out the G5 and you have 16 Power 4, then you're looking essentially at 6 SEC, 5 or 6 Big Tens, 2 Big 12, 2 ACCs. You're going to find your national champion out of a 16-team playoff in a scenario like that. Because I do think the regular season has to be a playoff of sorts as well.
Yeah, I'm in Jerry's category as it relates to that. I think 16 is the perfect number, actually. I don't know how they arrive at it. Right now, they're at an impasse between the 2 leagues that decide this, and that's the SEC and the Big Ten. They have dual operating rights over the future of the National College Football Playoffs next year. The SEC wants top 16 teams go, okay, with 4 or with 5 automatic qualifiers, okay, the same 5 kind of qualifiers that we've always had: the SEC champ, Big 10, ACC, Big 12, and then 1 G5. Okay, so that's what the SEC wants. The Big 10 says, no, we only want 16 if we're guaranteed 4 of those spots as the Big 10. So, Blake, do me a favor and bring up that top 25 from last week and count how many Big 10 teams would be in this sucker. Ohio State, Indiana would be in, correct? All right. And then Oregon would be in, and then USC just won. Michigan lost. So at least 4 Big 10 teams would be in. The difference is that 6 SEC teams would be in.
Yeah.
That's where the Big 10 doesn't want to be one-upped. Yeah. And so for whatever reason or purpose, plus if USC happened to be on that 16th ledge and James Madison got in over them, that'd be tough, right?
Yeah.
So my point, and I'm saying in all of this is, I think 16 is the perfect number. I think that the Big Ten and SEC think it is. I think that other leagues think it is as well. But the Big Ten doesn't like it unless they're guaranteed 4 spots.
Yeah.
And they are the league most likely to get hosed on that, because the SEC, due to its, just toughness of its league, is going to get more.
I think so. I think if you look at this right here, if you bring that back up, Blake, if you look at this right here, one of the Big 12s drops off, right, of a 16-team playoff. So to that point, I think you'd have 5 Big Tens in, 5 Big Tens.
No. Michigan's out.
Well, no, they would. I think at 9-3, they're in a 16. That's what I'm saying. I think they're.
Oh, no. They would be. You'd have Virginia in over them, Jerry, because Virginia's 10-2.
I hear that. But I think you'd end up with 5. I think you'd end up with 4 to 5 in, right? You'd end up with that. They had 2 9-3 teams. So I think it would work out for the Big Ten, because remember, Penn State fired a coach this year, right? So that dragged them down 1. But I think on most years it would work out to where you're in 4 or 5. Now they want guaranteed 5.
No,
right?
They want guaranteed 4.
Well, then they should be fine.
I know. I agree with that, but I think they're on the edge, because USC right now, USC is at 15 probably in the next rankings, and you got to remember, you got to take a ACC team that may not be ranked in the top 15 as the conference, or top 16 as the conference champion, as well as a G5 that could push USC to number 17, Jerry. So they'd only get 3. Yeah, that's why the lack of top to bottom strength by the Big Ten is the sticking point on that college football playoff expanding to 16 without assurances they get 4 spots.
And then Paul wants to know, how do we fix the college schedule to make sense with National Signing Day, the portal, and the coaching transitions, and also fit it in with academic calendar transitions and fit the academic calendar?
Do what they used to do and don't put signing day in December, put signing day in February.
They can't do that. There's too many early enrollees.
Okay, then those kids can come in early.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
the hard thing.
Yeah.
80% of these kids are early enrollees at the major universities now. That's the hard. But me personally, I think that they should have a late July signing period, right before football season, for high school seniors and college football. I think they should.
That is so tough. You're gonna sign kids without even them playing their senior year of college football.
But they've accelerated their own calendar, because now they're bringing in kids in April for official visits and making decisions on them. So this is on the colleges. So they're offering
this. What if we did this?
Kids in 8th grade. That's just all on them.
What if we did this?
No chance.
Why not?
That people would go to court on that. Now they're not, because of NIL. That's not going to happen. They're going to say, how can you tell me when I can enroll if I graduate from high school?
Out of college, yeah. Everybody else can do it. Why can't I?
Yeah.
It's
fair.
a
tough spot. It's a tough spot.
I hate that Lane Kiffin, you coach to win championships, right? I was talking to Brian Irwin about this. And he's like, I couldn't imagine, no matter how much money somebody gave me, that if I had a chance to win a championship as a coach, I wouldn't stay and be that coach. He goes, I would feel like I let those kids down so hard.
Yeah.
And I agree with him.
Yeah. I think that, they got to fix, there's some things that have to be fixed. Because your hand is, and I'm not sticking up for Lane Kiffin, don't get me wrong, but your hand is forced. Your hand is forced because you can't, if that's a job you want to take, then your hand is truly forced.
What do y'all think? And I'm going to say this, and I know it's almost sacrilege to talk poorly about the GOAT, Nick Saban. But what do y'all think of what Nick Saban did over the weekend? Openly rooting for Ole Miss to allow Lane Kiffin to stay at Ole Miss and coach that team through the playoffs while taking a job at a conference foe. And he did that knowing that his agent is the same agent as Lane Kiffin's, that he coached at the former university, LSU, that he's advocating for. Okay. And then furthermore, doing it, he apparently was one of the people talking to Lane Kiffin about what he should do. I mean, look, talk about conflict of interest. I mean, in my opinion, there should have been no discussion whether he should be able to keep coaching. None. I mean, Nick Saban himself fired Lane Kiffin after taking the Florida Atlantic job because he didn't think he was operating enough about his own team. Nick Saban did, so it's just hypocritical for Lane Kiffin, for Nick Saban to do. And I know talking about Nick Saban like this is sacrilege, apparently, but hypocritical as hell.
Yeah.
And a number of ESPN personalities, I think, were hypocritical as hell. Well, I think that was bad juju.
Yeah.
I didn't like it when it was coming out of their mouth. And if I'm Ole Miss, I want somebody that's leading my university to take them into the playoffs. I'll never forget Michigan did that when I think it was Bill Frieder took the
NCAA basketball.
It took was the head coach at Michigan during the Fab Five, and he took the Arizona State job.
Yeah.
It may not have been during the Fab Five, but he was at the Michigan job.
No, it was Michigan. Yeah.
It was
it was before Fab Five. It was Glenn Rice when they won title.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And Steve Fisher took over that job because they didn't want it. Now, people are saying, well, what about Will Stein, the offensive coordinator at Oregon, former Austinite, by the way, GA at the University of Texas. What about Will Stein and him taking the Kentucky job? Well, Will Stein's taking the head job. He's the offensive coordinator at Oregon. That's a natural thing. And he's saying he's staying at Oregon for that. If Oregon didn't want him to stay, Dan Lanning would tell him to go on his way. Right? But they're asking him to stay. That's different than this politicking for Lane Kiffin to continue coaching Ole Miss. That was BS. And if Nick Saban, I'd say it to his face, and Jimmy Sexton's for that matter. Yeah. I think a couple people think they have more power than they actually should, and that's their opinions don't actually matter that much to me because I think they're wrong. I'll leave it at that.
Jeff Carey says LSU is Mississippi's biggest rival. What would Texas do with Sark leaving to OU? Let him keep coaching? No way.
It's ridiculous. The mere thought of it. It's not their biggest rival. Mississippi State is.
Yeah.
Ole Miss also has a nice rivalry with Arkansas historically. But my point being, you just don't do that. And for them to go on air and act like it's just, it's normal. This is what they should do. It's clear. I mean, they weren't even entertaining the idea of doing something different, which was really probably the most. If you have an opinion, that's fine, but to not entertain the other portion of that opinion is BS. And that's what they did, in my opinion.
I want to. Somebody's asked about Jalen Lott. Will Oregon lose recruits? I don't think Oregon's losing recruits. Dan Lanning's in the playoffs again. He'll hire another OC and he'll have talent to be in the playoffs again.
Rashad Samples is still the recruiting guy too, Jerry, because he's the one that recruited Jalen Lott, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything's happening with Lott, but my overriding points, Dan Lanning is really, really good. And Dan Lanning is the reason those kids go to Oregon and NIL. No offense to Rashad Samples or any of the assistants. This is a Dan Lanning deal. Rocky Poor, Chip Kelly to Oregon. Now that would be an interesting
as
hire.
offensive coordinator.
Boy, you would actually.
I don't know if that would work, given he was once the head coach there. That'd be like somebody looming over you.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
You know, Fox in the hen house.
Somebody asked if Jalen Lott made any Texas games. He made one early in the season. Then the recruitment got in the bounce a little bit, but I think that's something would have to really change in a hurry, and we don't see it. Somebody's asking about Nick Marsh. Has asked a few times in the portal. Too early on that for me to comment on that. You got to see what these guys are. Look, these guys are going to be asking for ridiculous money to start in the portal. And they're going to way overshoot it to start. And then you got to see where it goes. I mean, there's going to be guys asking for $3 million to $4 million, which they don't care about a team. They don't care about rev share. They don't care about any of that. And the team they go to, they're just going to ask for $3 or $4 million. And then these schools are going to have decisions to make, because it's going to be unrealistic asks by a lot of guys in the rev share world right now.
Well, something I need to ask of you, Jerry, is to tell us about Hayes City Store.
I can do that. After you put your Tecovas on and your Bob Shipley hat on, you know what goes perfectly with that? Live music, drinks, and food at Hayes City Store out by Wimberley and San Marcos in that area. There are very few restaurants that went in Hayes. There are very few restaurants that once you go in, you immediately know they're just special. Hayes City Store is one of those places. It's scratch-made Texas comfort food. They've got their famous truck stop enchiladas, award-winning chicken fried steak, homemade desserts, all of it absolutely delicious. All of it's from scratch. They also have live music 6 nights a week with 50 beer taps, ice-cold long necks, and tasty margaritas. There are 13 TVs alone in their ice house. Perfect for game day watch. It's a great place to watch games. And they even have brunch served from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every single Sunday. Hayes City Store is dog friendly, unless it's a Georgia Bulldog or Collie. And they have a tree net for kids. Join the folks out at Hayes City Store and bring your whole crew. For more information, check out the website at HayesCityStoreTexas.com. Hayes City Store, it's uniquely Texas. Man, I just had a really good business idea for Hayes City Store. Since Texas didn't allow Rivalry into the game Friday, Hayes City Store should have just brought them out for a photo shoot with A&M fans. They would have made $10,000 on food and drinks that day.
I got to tell you, now Hayes City Store will accept any customer.
Yeah.
But Travis and his wife like to fly the Longhorn flag out front a little more than Rivalry might like, Jerry.
Yeah.
That's a great place, by the way. If you haven't been out there, I almost sent Travis a note yesterday saying next year we should do a signing day show from there and invite everybody out.
That's not
just have fun in the ice house there all day long. All right, Omaha Steaks. You guys know this is one of my favorites. Omaha Steaks offers unrivaled quality and variety, and every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee. The cyber sale going on right now is the perfect time to shop for unforgettable gifts, exclusive limited time deals, and more. Plus, orders placed by 5 o'clock ship the same day. When you give Omaha Steaks, you're sending more than a gift. You're sending an experience. From the moment it arrives to the moment they enjoy it, they'll be thinking of you. Take the stress out of gift giving. A gift of handcrafted perfection is the kind of gift that brings people together, and you don't have to know anyone's size. I'm a double X if my wife Jenny is listening. 5 generations of uncompromising quality, backed by an unconditional 100% money-back guarantee. Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917. Save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code ONTexas at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com. Use promo code ONTexas. That's all one word at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details.
Thank you, Bobby. And I need to tell everyone this morning about Aura. Aura. If I can get the thing to pull up. There we go. If you're anything like me, every year there's that one person you can never shop for. And look, I've done the Christmas Eve mad dash more times than I want to admit, but this year I'm skipping the chaos. Aura Frame is my last minute lifesaver. We're giving them to my in-laws this Christmas because it's the one gift that actually feels personal. You can preload it with photos before it ships, add a little message, and it shows up ready to go. You can even keep adding photos and videos from your phone all year long. It's literally unlimited. You just connect the frame with the Aura app and some Wi-Fi, and you're all set. And for a limited time, you can save on the perfect gift by visiting Aura Frames to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames. They were named #1 by Wirecutter by using promo code ONTexas at checkout. That's Aura Frames, AURA frames.com, promo code ONTexas. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning OTF at checkout.
Hey, I use one of those, by the way, Aura Frames. It basically rotates the photographs for you digitally. Very cool.
I'm going to answer this. The commitment of Jamarian Carlton bumped Texas a spot or two, bumped them up. They're in that 6-7 line. I mean, they're right there. So we'll see. Texas needs to flip one of those two offensive linemen and get Teray Davis, but I do think they're going to lose Vodney Cleveland. So I don't think anything's changed there. I'll be surprised. I've been wrong before. I'll be surprised if he doesn't end up at North Carolina unless something major changes late. So I think Texas is, if they get one of the two offensive linemen, if they went out for Trey Davis, which is big from a ranking standpoint, but I think Texas will probably finish 6 or 7. 6-7, yes, for all the people.
Oh, jeez.
I don't even know what it means, but let's.
No one knows what it means.
Okay,
that's the idea. That's the whole idea, Jerry. No one knows what it means.
We got more super chat regarding the college football playoff. Jay Lee here says, "Am I correct? Did OU under Riley, after 2 years of losing in the college football playoff, get left out year 3 as a result? Dropping us after Arkansas win kind of felt like that was the committee's way to keep us out in case we beat A&M. Essentially, they want to give someone else a shot."
that's been my whole thing the whole time. Is they obviously went wins and losses 2 weeks ago in their ranking, and now they're going to reverse course this week, and they're going to move Texas, I think, up to 13.
Does anybody really think Texas loses to BYU or Utah if they play right now?
No, and I don't think Miami does either. All right, so I think both of those teams. I think both those teams beat them. So, and look, by the way,
I will say this: Carson Beck's more likely to throw it to the other team than Arch Manning.
Yeah, I think Texas and Miami beat Ole Miss right now too, without a head coach and offensive staff. So, but they clearly ranked. They clearly ranked on wins and losses last week more than anything else. Because, look, now I'll say this. I mean, we sit there and rag on Utah, and Texas is a better team than Utah, clearly. And we say, oh, Utah gave up 450 yards rushing. Well, Texas defensively looked like poo, steaming poo for weeks. So, I mean, other people can make arguments as well, to be fair. But, yeah, and now they're going to reverse course. And that's what my question was after the A&M win is, what's the committee going to do? Because it was clear how they ranked it Tuesday. Now they're going to be forced to reverse course. How much? Like if Texas beat Vanderbilt, yeah. If you're Clark Lee, you're like, hey man, we have one more win. I don't care what the schedule says. We beat the people in front of us. We're 10-2. Yeah, they beat us, but we just went and beat Tennessee. I mean, the case he's making, right? But I think Miami and Texas are the two teams that I look at in college football that have underachieved to their talent level this year. And those are the two teams that would be scary if they get in to people who have to host a game against the Miami or Texas. And I'm like Bob, but people know I don't trust Carson Beck at all, but those two teams are really talented, and they're a problem for somebody if they have to host them in the first round.
Love to see Texas play good old Indiana.
I think Miami would struggle. I think Indiana would struggle with Miami and Texas greatly.
No, there's no doubt. Line of scrimmage.
Yeah. And both teams can rush the passer big time.
All right, and then let's see. Jerry's Jack Links. We got a couple of more comment ones. I'm going to group these together. Jerry's Jack Links. We'll see how this goes, but there's a lot of OU, Nebraska, and Arkansas influence in the committee. If they really want to make some money, send us to Lubbock in the first round. And then Jeff says, if you want to blow up the college football playoff, have Duke and BYU win this
There is that. There is that.
If Duke wins, I mean, it should be Armageddon. I mean, 7-5 in the playoffs.
Well, I don't think they get in, right? They take.
Yeah, it may be James Madison and Tulane or North Texas.
Yeah,
because it's the 5 highest rated conference champions.
Yeah,
and both Tulane and North Texas are rated ahead of Duke.
Yeah,
and so is James Madison. But I guess now that they don't have a coach,
right. Oh, so that would be interesting, wouldn't it? What if James Madison all of a sudden was eligible and they get left out because their coach left?
Well, he's not leaving. He's still coaching them. Difference.
Yeah, I guess.
Again, the difference between him doing that and keep coaching and John Summerall staying at Tulane, I think, for this game.
For the conference championship.
Yeah. The reality of it is the difference for those teams is really clear. It's that they're not going to rivals or within the same conference. Lane Kiffin is trying to go in the same conference and recruit other players to his new school.
Yeah.
While doing so.
The one thing I will laugh at Ole Miss on that, though, is the one thing I will laugh at Ole Miss brass on that is, does him being there or not really give LSU a better chance to get those kids? The kids that want to play for Lane Kiffin are going to play for Lane Kiffin. Period. Whether he's there or not, ain't changing anything with that. It's not like Lane Kiffin. It's not like that really is changing. See, I think there's BS on both sides of this because nobody. I mean,
it hurts recruiting immediately, Jerry. Who signs with Ole Miss on Wednesday? It's about Ole Miss's future, not Lane Kiffin's future.
But they're trying to tie it to him recruiting players off the Ole Miss roster while he's coaching.
No, they're not just that. Also, recruits that are signing on Wednesday.
Yeah,
it's not just the ones off the roster.
No,
I mean, and if you keep him as head coach, Pete Golding doesn't get to take over as head coach and sign those players. I hear you. I mean, I think there's elements of there that you're right. I mean, I agree with you. There are going to be guys, including the quarterback, who's filing for a 6th year that will probably follow him to LSU no matter what. But I'm talking about high school seniors that are making their decisions this week.
Yeah. There is signing. Kyle Voska, yes, there is a signing day show.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why the whole calendar is rough because you have to take LSU when you do. There's a signing day on the flip side. Tough spot.
Well, more college football playoff super chats here. This one from Michael. Has the committee stated a clear objective of the playoffs? Does the criteria support the objective, deserving, best, prettiest, etc.?
We put this up earlier. Blake, you want to put it up again? Strength of schedule, head-to-head competition, comparative outcomes of common opponents, other relevant factors such as unavailability of key players and coaches. Texas, has the 5th ranked hardest schedule, Jerry? Is that right?
Hey, I think it's officially 8th.
Okay. But Texas is the only one that's played 5 of the top 15 schools in the country. Head-to-head competition, they're 3-2 in those. Comparative outcomes of common opponents is where Texas is actually getting hurt, I think, a little bit. And that's Miami versus Florida and Texas versus Florida.
100%.
Okay. Other relevant factors such as unavailability of key players. Texas was without Anthony Hill on Friday. That didn't seem to matter. Texas was without Michael Taft and Jelani McDonald for most of Vanderbilt in that comeback. I don't know. We'll see. I think Texas belongs in, but I don't know that they'll get in. I actually think they probably won't, but that's a different story.
Yeah. Again, for people just came on the show or join, that last one with Ole Miss. I hate it for the kids. They should not be in. They should not be in the playoff. You can't lose your head coach and the whole offensive staff. They shouldn't be in.
BB Ram 37 with the super chat says CJ and Marcus's arguments blow my mind. We finished ahead of OU SEC with a comparable schedule. If you agree the loss at Ohio State should not be penalized, why would you overrule the SEC standings?
I think that people thought here's a couple of misnomers that have happened, or misconceptions, not misnomers, misconceptions. The NCAA committee thought that a full-fledged John Mateer would have beaten Texas. Okay. Well, John Mateer is okay as a quarterback. He's not great. The idea that John Mateer was a great quarterback has evaporated over time this year. Correct? Does everybody agree with that? Like, he's a functional, good quarterback, but is he a great quarterback? I don't think so. Okay. And I think that's one of the misconceptions. Another of the misconception, in my opinion, has been, these early wins that, frankly, if Texas plays Florida last weekend, Texas doesn't lose by 20 to Florida like Florida State did. Now, maybe that's because Texas makes a change on the offensive line somewhat midway through the season, or Arch Manning's better as the season wears on. But the timing of some of these wins, I mean, does Miami really beat – the question I have, does Miami really beat Notre Dame head-to-head right now? No, I don't think so. Their quarterback now has a full year of starting. And their quarterback is better than Carson Beck, in my opinion. So some of this is timing too. I mean, do you want the best teams right now? Because I would tell you that Texas is 6-1 over the last 7 games, and they've beaten 3 top 15 teams. Name another team in the last 7 games that have done that. They don't exist. Now, Jerry can say the Texas defense was steaming poo during some of that, but they overcame that too, largely.
Yeah, I
remember Georgia only had a 3-point lead going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, look, I think that we can point at a lot of different things for all these teams. And that is what makes why college football is more popular than it's ever been, because they needed a playoff, and this is what we're getting out of it. Much more college football discussion than having 4 teams in, and we're done in Indiana, and those people never feel like they have a chance in football life. I think, I think if Texas and Oklahoma played again right now on a neutral field, Texas would win? I think probably. I'm not saying it's a lock. I think probably not a lock, because it's a game. It's a game, right? I think Oklahoma is getting credit because they won at Tennessee and Alabama in back-to-back weeks. And we can argue about it however we want, but Texas didn't show up to play Florida. There's nothing more impressive, less impressive, than when a team that's ranked high doesn't show up. Those are hard things to overcome when you don't show up. It's hard to get that stain off a resume when you don't show up for a big game. That's always a tough one for me.
I felt like OU didn't show up against Texas. How's that? 3-score loss. They haven't scored a touchdown against Texas in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
I feel like Oklahoma didn't show up. So what do you have to say to that?
I disagree.
Okay.
I think Oklahoma showed up and Texas beat them. That was not the same look as what Texas did at Florida.
Okay. That's fair. I still think Texas wins by 2 scores. At least, maybe 3. Oh, you can't move the ball. I mean, they beat LSU by big plays. They beat Alabama by big plays. They didn't move the ball. They still can't stop the outside zone of Trey Weiser.
Yeah.
Man, Texas would.
Bobby Petronic and I agree on a lot. I disagree with you here, Bobby. Texas losing to a 4-8 Florida team that lost to everybody else good. By the way, they lost to G5 South Florida at home 2 weeks before that. Just putting that out there. And then they went and lost at Miami and had 140 yards of offense. So that loss matters a lot because it goes to what do you look like as a team. Florida literally lost. The next week they beat Texas. They go on A&M and got blown out. Then the coach gets fired after Mississippi State. They lost to a G5 opponent at home in South. That loss absolutely matters in the eye test. Whether how much it should or not is a different discussion. But that loss absolutely matters.
Texas plays Texas Southern instead of Ohio State and is 10-2. They're ranked ahead of Vanderbilt and they're ranked ahead of OU right now and should be. Texas plays Texas Southern instead of Ohio State. That's just a fact. Head-to-head matters. They just don't have as many data points that are tangible for OU and Vanderbilt.
Well, here's my, and I don't disagree with you, but I always look at the committee when I'm talking about this stuff. Miami beat Notre Dame head-to-head. It doesn't matter. They have the same record.
Unbelievable.
That's to me is like the problem, and that's why this is so much fun because we're having all these discussions. But Miami literally beat Notre Dame head-to-head, and they have the same record. And Notre Dame's going to be 3 or 4 spots ahead of them. Like Miami's the team that has, whether they deserve it or not, they lost a couple of 8-4 ACC teams, right? But they have a major itch on their hands if they don't get in, and Notre Dame does at the end of the day. To me, that's wild. Like, make that one make sense. It's not like their strength of schedule is much different either. That one's wild to me.
Terrence wants you to know, Jerry, that he said it first. Texas will be the number.
I remember you said that. I remember you said that.
If that happens, we're in, right?
Yep. And then Guy wants
to hold you to it, by the way.
Yeah.
We'll see tonight at what, 7 o'clock? Is that when the 7 o'clock or 6?
So.
Is it 7 Eastern or 6?
7 Eastern, 6.
6 o'clock Central.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll be on. We'll have the live stream going tonight around 7 o'clock to talk to you guys about that, by the way.
And then Guy wants to know, do y'all think the preseason hype and number 1 ranking has hurt Texas down the road? Texas looks worse because they didn't meet expectations.
Yeah, look, I think that is true. And I'll go back and say this. I think that is true for 2 teams. And I just keep going back to the same teams. And I'm not saying which one's better. I think it'd be a hell of a game. I'd love to see the game. It's Texas and Miami. Because after Miami beat Notre Dame to start the season, they vaulted way up, right? Then you have some D-line injuries and lose a game, right? Moton was out for a while. They lost a game they shouldn't have lost. Texas lost a game they shouldn't have lost, right? Bottom line. I think that those 2 teams may have been hit a little bit harder than some others, honestly. I think those teams may have been hit a little harder than others because they're seen as the ultra-talented teams. And I kind of agree with this. If I look at 2 teams that have underachieved to their talent level this year, those are the 2 teams I would kind of circle that are in the conversation. Penn State more than any other team in the country, but that's a totally different thing. They fired their coach and blah, 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 like Florida. But the teams in the conversation, those are the 2 teams you kind of circle. So I do definitely think it hurt both of them, actually.
And Team Miller
Alabama lost by how many to Florida State? You tell me that's not a worse loss than Texas to Florida?
They just got off the hook because they won at Georgia. That's it.
Yep.
That's the question with Bama, though, because Bama hasn't played good football down the stretch like they were at midseason. So if they lose to Georgia by 14-17, do they actually – or I assume they'll get in. But should they?
They're then what, 1-2 against top 15 teams, or 2-2? Well, Texas is 3-2.
Yeah.
I'm just, that's whatever. And they had, anyways, they played mighty Florida State and lost. So
yeah,
I just, Texas remains the only team to play Ohio State within 1 score. And they did it in Ohio. So if you're going to count early season games, if Texas would have played, somebody just wrote this. Texas would have played Texas Southern instead of Ohio State. Texas is in the college football playoffs. Period.
And
So
a
maybe
couple-
early season rankings in some bizarre way does have an impact. Because if they didn't have that expectation, they would have been looked upon more favorably, for playing that game tight. I don't know. Instead of just the expectation that it would be tight.
couple more college football playoff super chats before we switch gears here. T. Miller says what hurts the system is the early ranking. Rocky P says let Texas in and give us either the Sand Aggies in Lubbock or the Land Robbers in Norman. Talk about a storyline for the first round. And then Roy says after all these years, people are still enamored with the majesty of Notre Dame. We need younger people in the college football playoff committee.
Need fewer people in certain leagues, clearly, in my opinion.
All right, let's see here.
All leagues are not created equal. And I don't think people whose employers put them on that committee agree with that sentiment. I think too many of them think they all are created equally. Therein lies the problem with arguing about an ACC team.
Yeah. I think who's on the committees really matters.
Yes.
And they don't, that's it. The setup is not, they're trying to keep everybody happy.
Yeah. Barry Alvarez at Wisconsin used to be on that committee. You don't think that dude's not going to dominate a committee? I've met him before.
Yeah.
There's no chance he doesn't dominate a committee.
Yeah.
All right. Brian wants to know what impact has the clearinghouse had on NIL money?
So far, nothing.
Not much that I'm aware of as it relates to Texas currently. Now, Brian, get back to me in 2 months. Let's see what happens then. But as of right now, there's been a number of deals struck down. Some are in what I would call purgatory, neither answered nor accepted nor declined. But that's my opinion.
And then Derek wants to know, do TV executives have much say? Can you imagine ratings if Texas plays at OU, Indiana, or Tech, or Aggie? Much better ratings than adding a Big 12 or ACC team. 2008, painful memories.
It's true. Painful memories.
All right. Let's see. Before we get to our last couple, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone one more time about Texas Road.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to talk about our friend Rick Vavro and his team at Texas Road. They are your full-service solution for major road projects with the full support of multiple crews performing utility, dirt work, concrete, and asphalt. They are the top choice for major road projects. Texas Road provides on-site concrete through volumetric trucks for smaller volumes. They are able to complete road building in a high-profile environment. They're the best there is. Our friend Rick Vavro and his team make sure of it. Again, that's Texas-road.com, texasroad.com.
Thank you, Bobby. And looks like we got one more college football playoff super chat. This one from Shoney Jackson. Thank you for that. It says you can nitpick close wins with any team ever. You can nitpick everyone wins this season outside of Ohio State. Texas checks every single box the committee claims to go by. 3 top 10 wins, common opponent, strength of schedule. Everything favors Texas. Strength of record favors Texas.
I think that there are elements of this that are true and maybe one that's not, and that's strength of record. Because like I said, if Texas were 10-2, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Texas is 9-3, and that's why we're having the conversation. Jerry, do you think Texas would be in if they were 10-2 and had played Texas Southern instead of Ohio State?
Or beat Florida, yes.
Okay, or beat Florida. Okay.
Yes.
He would be in.
If Texas was 10-2, they'd be in. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, me too. So that strength of record, that last piece, is the one they're arguing against right now. I mean, look, at some point, the Big Ten has to step up and say, yeah, gee, maybe Texas and Ohio State played the closest game they've had all year. Blake, please put up, before we leave, please put up the Ohio State schedule with all of the scores on it. That's what I want to remind people of this. Okay. Take a look at this and tell me which game was the closest by a large margin. No team went into the fourth quarter with a less than a two-score lead. Let's see, 70-point favorites, 28, 18, 39, 18, 34, 24, 24, 38, 33, 18. Nobody even within 2 scores of them, except for Texas. If Indiana gets beat by 3 scores and Texas isn't in, this whole strength of schedule stuff is for the birds, man. If Texas goes and beats, or if Ohio State goes and beats Indiana 31-17, which I don't know if it'll happen, or 38-17, that game, by the way, is played indoors. It is going to be a track meet, right? In Indianapolis, Jerry?
Yeah, I'll be surprised if Indiana doesn't lose by 2 scores.
Yeah. But look at that.
Yeah.
That's the entire.
Yeah. They had
there was no Big Ten team within 2 scores in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 2 fourth quarter games, Texas and Washington.
But Washington wasn't even a fourth quarter game, was it?
I don't remember. I'd have to look back on that. I think I'd have to look back on that box score of that game. Yeah. Let's see.
Looking at A&M, Texas is only, yes. A&M, well, no, Notre Dame. Notre Dame, T. Miller. They beat Notre Dame. A&M is 1-1 against top 15 teams. 1-1.
See, 2 more. This one from Juan Garza. What do you all think of Penn State and Kalani Sitake? And do you think Kiffin leaves for New York Giants?
The second part, no, I do not. I think he took LSU and he's staying at LSU. Man, I don't. Penn State's AD will end up getting fired.
I just want to say this: Kalani Sitake is probably a really good coach. So I don't. His teams he brought to Austin were not as good as the BYU teams that Bronco Mendenhall did back in the day. And Bronco Mendenhall left the environs of Utah and found it really hard going at Virginia. So one BYU coach has went east and not had success. I don't know why you would think another BYU coach could go east and have success. Now, UCLA should have tried to get Kalani Sitake or somebody like that, Cal. But I don't think a BYU coach goes east and has success. I'm with Jerry. I think that Penn State AD, either he gets that would be a very questionable hire, in my opinion. Sean says I'm hearing Ed O to Tulane. Very possible, I guess. We'll have to wait and see.
I mean, yeah, my thing with that is if you're Penn, I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
What ties does he have to Pennsylvania?
That's a tough
one. I looked at his resume last night.
I was just thinking about what other coaches you could hire, and that's no knock on him. But how many other coaches could they hire that might be better fits? That's a wild one to me. I mean,
it makes no sense.
I'd rather take a swing at Lincoln Riley. You know?
Yeah, because Lincoln Riley wants to play in cold weather with his defense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Somebody's asking, yeah, Neil Brown is definitely in the mix, if not the favorite for North Texas. What that means, we'll see, right? It's a college coaching hire. And Dave actually asked, would he take Chad Scott? I mean, North Texas couldn't pay him. I mean, that'd be a major pay hit.
I was going to say the offensive and defensive coordinator at North Texas will not make as much as the running back coach at Texas.
Yeah.
Well, let's end on a Texas note here. This one from B. Broomy, 1403, says, do y'all think Texas could use Townsend as a Tyler Warren type player? I know he's got a long way to go and not 250 pounds like Warren, but he's so physical and uber athletic.
That would be a best case almost, right, Jerry?
Yeah, best case.
The question is, Tyler Warren was a former high school quarterback, and I know Nick Townsend played all over the field, but I would question the one thing that a lot of tight ends have this superpower, and I think Travis Kelce is one of them. I think Tyler Warren is one of them. The guy at with the Detroit Lions is one of them. They see the field almost as quarterbacks and finding zones and areas that, you know what I mean, for their quarterbacks. And there's like almost a telepathy involved in it. That's what, it's not the athleticism or the speed or the physicality that you have to worry about with the Nick Townsend. He has those. It's that mental edge. And I'm sure he's got a mental edge. I'm not talking about a desire. Mental acumen may be the better term, right? Look, there are guys more athletic at tight end than Travis Kelce and Tyler Warren and Laporta, but they have the understanding of the scheme. And I think part of it's because they were former quarterbacks in high school.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by Texas Road. We want to thank them along with Prize Picks, Aura Frames, Hollow, Tacovas, Omaha Steaks, and Hayes City Store for sponsoring today's show. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, we will start at 7 a.m., possibly a little earlier, Bobby said. So be sure to tune in extra early tomorrow. And then, Bobby, what's later today?
We got a number of different stuff coming. Jerry's got a recruiting breakdown coming up. We're going to have some other news and notes on the team, as well as the live stream tonight following the college football playoffs. Okay, so we will be back on around that time tonight as well, guys. Thanks for joining us. Hoping for good outcome this evening for sure for the Longhorns, or at least a more favorable one than is predicted by some folks who've been pretty good at it, actually. Heather Denich of ESPN actually been really good at it. But we'll see what occurs and where the Longhorns go.
Well, again, we'll be back tomorrow, 7 a.m., possibly a little earlier. So be sure to tune in for that. And for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Welcome, Horns.